Hello, everyone, and welcome into voiceovervoices.biz. I'm your host, Earl Hall. We've got a great show for you today. We talk with brand new and up-and-coming voiceover artists about how they got into the industry and also about the gear that they're using. I know you're interested in the gear, right? So we're going to be talking about that today. Got a special guest joining me today. Bernie is in the house. How you doing, Bernie?
Hey, Earl, good to be with you.
Man, it's good to have you here. Thanks so much for taking out the time to do this with me today. I know this is, this show is getting more popularity, even though it's only a week old at this point. But so many people are getting in, and I appreciate you hopping in and doing this interview with me this morning. So, Bernie, kind of tell us here. I mean, how did you get into the industry? How long ago, and why?
Well, I'm really a newbie, Earl. Unlike many of the other folks that I've seen on your show, I only started following you a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, wow.
That's right. Just
Thank
a
you.
few weeks ago. Yep. So I've been following others out there like Bill DeWeese and your prodigal student, Anthony Pica, and,
Oh, yeah.
you know, Gift of Gab or however, whatever her actual handle is. And then, of course, I came across you, but I've only really gotten into voiceover over about the last 14, 15 months. I've been a podcaster for about 7 years. So this is actually a podcasting microphone. It's a dynamic microphone. And I've always wanted to do quote unquote acting. And then I just kind of learned a little bit about the voiceover industry. And I thought, well, maybe that's a way that I can break into acting by using my voice. So just before COVID hit is when I started kind of dipping my toes in the water. And
Oh,
Earl,
wow.
I am gainfully employed, my friends. I have a full-time job and it's more than 40 hours a week. So it's truly a side hustle for me, but I love it. And,
Yeah.
whether or not it becomes full-time someday, I don't really know yet. I really don't.
Okay, awesome. Was there something maybe back from, it's like getting into voiceover is one of those things where, it's always like the why. I think back to when I started, was there something that kind of preempted that whole thing? Was like, you know what, I got to get a mic. Was it the podcasting? What was it?
It was the podcasting, because even in the podcasting, I've recorded dozens, probably more, north of 100 promo spots on my podcast show.
Okay.
Right? I've had 2 podcast shows. My most recent, I just retired recently at episode 300, right? And so over the course
Wow.
of 300 episodes, I've recorded probably, like I said, about 100, give or take, promo spots.
Mm-hmm.
And I always enjoyed it. That was like my little taste of voice acting, right? Doing the promo spots for
Mm-hmm.
sponsors. And then I just started to study the industry, and my eyes just became wide open when I learned just how robust the industry is. And as you know, in recent times, the home studio has become the thing, not the
Mm-hmm.
exception, but the norm.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't have a home studio. I'm sitting in my home office. And so, I've kind of built, as Anthony Pica would say, the hobo fort.
Yeah, I just heard him say that on one of his shows the other day, the hobo for it.
Yep. Yep.
Man, oh man. Well, I mean, being in now for, going on over a year, you know, how did you go about selecting, the gear that you have? We can start like with the microphone. I see the Earl PR40 there. I had one of those back in the day when I first started my podcast. Love that microphone. Um, how did you go about selecting the Earl PR40?
Well, when I got serious about podcasting, I just looked around and all the quote unquote successful podcasters that I knew were using the Heil PR40. So honestly, Earl, I just got it just because that seemed to be, it's kind of like the Neumann, what is it, TLM
TLM
103 or
103.
whatever, right? Is kind of held up to be like the standard of like the best of the best. That the Heil PR40 was like that, right? The Neumann
Yeah.
TLM 103 or whatever
Yeah.
in podcasting. So I just bought it and I love it. Been using it ever since.
Wow. It's that is a dynamic microphone, right? It's
It
not a
is, yeah,
condenser with
right.
that. And it's funny, even with the Heil PR40, the way that it's designed, it's almost like it should be a side address microphone, but it's actually an end fire microphone. It's always funny to me when I see people using the side address microphones and they have it positioned like you, and we know that's wrong, but he's got it, Bernie has it positioned right for the PR40. But it is a great microphone with that. What kind of interface are you using with the PR40?
I'm using what a lot of people are using, the Scarlett. I'm using the Solo third generation. So
Hmm.
It gets the job done. I also have a cloud lifter in front of it. Um, I think it helps. I don't really know for sure. I'm not a sound engineer. I've learned a
Hmm.
few things, but you know, not probably a fraction of what you know. But I just, heard the cloud lifter could be something that could help with dynamic microphones because, dynamic microphone has its pros and cons, Earl, as you know, for voice
Hmm.
acting, right? It doesn't have the wide polar pattern that a condenser microphone has, but it's very forgiving. It's only going to pick
Mm.
up, you know, the noise around me,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So, and I do not have the full blown studio and a condenser mic. If and when I go to a condenser mic, and it's probably when, not if, I also am going to have to get out of my home office and into another room further away into the house because I'm right next to the street. So
Uh,
there's noise out there, right? So I'm going to have to go to another room and really build that out into a home studio and treat it, beyond what I've treated today because I can kind of get away with it. I'm
yeah.
probably not going to win big national commercials with this, but I can win jobs on Fiverr, and I have. I've done about 27, I think, jobs on Fiverr.
Oh, fantastic. How are you finding Fiverr as far as, you've got 27 jobs. What kind of gigs do you have up there on Fiverr? What are you marketing there?
Yeah, my mainstay is explainer video. That's the
Okay.
one that's doing the best. It's the one that I also enjoy the most. I often hear from people like you and others, let the market tell you where you're strong and what they want to hire
Hmm.
you for. And explainer videos is what I've been getting the most for. And it's also what I enjoy doing the most. The other one is podcast intro and outro. Because of my own podcast, and that experience, I've done many of those as well as the promo spots. So those are the two. I also kind of by accident fell into children's narration. By
Mm.
accident, Earl, I mean, somebody on Fiverr just found me and I got one job from this woman who has a children's site. And then one job led to like 10. I've done like 10 children's narration spots for her
Wow.
site. Um, so, but explainer videos is kind of the main one.
Awesome. Awesome. What made you, or was there anything that made you select that Scarlett Solo that you have?
Again, just listen. I watch a lot of YouTube and
Yeah.
even listen
Yeah.
to podcasts. So I just been studying the industry and I just came across it. I heard about it over and over and over again.
Hmm.
And it's both very affordable, as you know, and it's easy too. So it didn't require a tremendous amount of budget or learning curve. So those are two things that won me over.
Awesome. Let's talk about your DAW. What are we using for all this magic?
Adobe Audition. I
Adobe
started
Audition.
with GarageBand. I'm on
Mm.
a Mac. I outgrew it pretty quickly. I kind of had a hunger for learning, to do more. So I went to Adobe Audition and mostly self-taught. Just watching YouTube videos.
Yeah.
I did actually hire someone about 6 months ago, maybe less than 6 months ago, to build a special effects chain, right? A rack rather.
Yeah. Hmm.
Um, and I've been using it because I love the convenience of it. Press two buttons and all the effects happen. I mean, you can't beat that.
Yeah.
But I've actually gotten to a point, Earl, where I think it's overprocessed. I listen to
Okay.
it and I just think it's overprocessed. So I'm now starting to experiment with not using that as painful as it is because now I'm doing manual, the old fashioned way,
Yeah.
editing on my auditions. And here's the thing, Earl, I have not won a single job on auditions, not one.
Wow.
It's all been through Fiverr. And I've submitted probably 200 auditions over the last year. I've got one I'm working on this morning that I'll submit
Yeah.
today. And I just haven't won one yet. And one thing about this industry, as you know, is that you don't get feedback. So I don't know if it's
Right.
my performance. I don't know if it's, my audio quality. I just don't know what it is.
It's funny, people ask about like, what platforms to be on and things of that nature. And it's like the one you're winning on. Some people get on, the platforms, the audition platforms and win. Some get on platforms, I would dare say most, get on platforms like Fiverr, Upwork, People Per Hour and win. And I tell people, well, why are you wasting all your time doing auditions then when all the
Right.
work's coming over here? Why not just double down on that
Yeah.
and put all of your any energy over there? But I mean, the journey is an interesting one. And as you said, we don't get a lot of feedback. And when we don't get the feedback, some people deal with, well, all of us, rejection. It's one of the biggest parts of what we do is dealing with that rejection. How do you kind of handle that as far as in that mental space?
I don't actually see it as rejection because
Hmm.
I'm not getting notified saying, thanks, but no thanks. You just
Yeah.
don't hear anything back, right? You just don't get hired.
Yeah.
I celebrate every once in a while. Every once in a while, I'll get an email saying, you've been shortlisted.
Yeah.
And I kind of celebrate that, like, okay, that's progress. That's progress. But look, I also know that I'm not submitting nearly as many auditions as I really need to be because, again, as I said, it's a side hustle. I work full time,
Yeah.
so I'm averaging between 2 to 5, maybe sometimes 7 auditions a week, right?
Wow.
Whereas most people are doing 10 or 20 a day, right? Who are
Yeah.
doing it full time. I
Yeah.
get it. I'm not doing as many as I'm not doing enough, but I can't. I just don't have so weekends I try to catch up. I can't even get to it during the week. Sometimes I do. Sometimes I do. But I don't really deal with it as rejection because I'm not getting rejected. I'm just not hearing
Hmm.
back. I'm trying to learn. So my current experiment is I'm going to stop using my track, my effects rack,
Hmm.
and do it manual, and just try to do a little bit less on that. Just kind of edit out the mouth clicks and most of the breaths, make sure the noise floor is acceptable. And I'm going to try that and see if I can, win something on the merit of my performance. Because again, I've done 27 Fiverr jobs, and by the way, about 8 of them have been repeat clients.
See? Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and you can always make your own rack. I mean, once you get it dialed in the way you want to manually, you can just create your own rack. That's not,
Right.
very difficult to do. May take a little time depending on how much
Right.
processing you're doing on that.
Right.
But I mean, all that is really interesting. And I'm a Adobe Audition nerd, so I love all that stuff. But let's kind of, I mean, the last question I always ask everyone is, if there's anything that you could ask me in regards to voiceover, what would that be? How could I help?
I'm going to ask you a question that I'm going to guess you haven't been asked yet.
Okay.
And that is that I am dealing with a health condition, which is larynx reflux.
Okay.
My larynx um, is irritated from years of spicy food and coffee, years and
Hmm.
years, decades of spicy food and coffee. I've had it examined. I've been to both an ENT. I'm still seeing an ENT. I go back next week for another follow up. I've been to a speech pathologist where she actually stuck something back into the throat and videoed my larynx, and I saw it, and it's red and raw, and it looks doesn't look healthy. So I've
Hmm.
been through voice therapy and all that, which has made some improvement, but I'm not 100%. So I'm looking for anybody out there in the voice community. And Earl, that's why I wanted to come on to your show to kind of get the word out there. First of all, take care of your
Love
larynx.
it.
Don't eat spicy foods. Cut back on your coffee if you're a big coffee drinker like I used to be.
Hmm.
But if there's anybody, including yourself, that can offer any advice on how to heal this larynx reflux condition, I'd love to know.
I love that you brought that up. And no, I've never been asked that. And so I'm not a medical doctor, so I can't give medical advice. But the fact that obviously, if you're dealing with that issue, there's many other people that are. And hopefully, some of those people will see this and be able to reach out to you with maybe some of the things that they're dealing with, how they're overcoming it, and things of that nature. Is there a community anywhere online that you've been able to find, like on Facebook or LinkedIn or anything like that, talking about this or YouTube videos?
Yeah, I haven't found any. No, no. So if they're out there, I'd like to know. I mean, mostly I've found medical, not communities, but
Hmm.
medical links and articles and that sort of thing. So I've read about the kind of diet I need to have, and for the most part, I'm following the diet. I don't follow it maybe 100%, but I
Okay.
mean, I used to be a big coffee drinker, and I don't drink any coffee anymore. And a year ago, I would have said, kill me before you take my coffee away, right? But so no, if there's communities out there, I'd love to know about them on this topic.
Awesome. How would people, go about getting in touch with you, maybe to reach out, or how would you like them to go about reaching out to you?
So I'm pretty easy to find. If you just Google my name, Bernie Borges, Borges. I've been active
Hmm.
for years. I'm most active on LinkedIn. That's
Okay.
the LinkedIn and Twitter, and both handles are Bernie Borges, Borges. So either of those, you can find me easily, and love to hear from anybody that might just want to connect in general and just network with each other.
Awesome, man. Well, Bernie, first of all, I want to thank you so much for being on the show with us today. For voiceovervoices.biz. Thanks for taking out the time to tell your story with us today, because you had a good one as well and brought up a topic that has never been brought up before here on this show. But I want to make sure you have a good rest of your day. Happy Father's Day weekend to you as well. And hopefully we'll be talking again real soon. So thanks for being here.
All right. Thanks, Earl. Thanks for having me.
All right, everyone. Thanks so much for tuning into this episode of voiceovervoices.biz. Make sure you do check out the website for that, voiceovervoices.biz. You see it right here on the bottom of the screen. Go right to it. You can book your appointment and interview with me just like you saw Bernie and so many others at this point are doing right now. You can take a listen to the entire playlist of all the interviews and also check out the new podcast that is there as well, right on the same website, voiceovervoices.biz. Until next time, we'll see you soon.